Hi readers, thanks for joining back into another reading lesson. So today I've got a new book. This one's called Keepers. Now, just based on the front cover, what do you think this story is going to be about? Why don't you share that with somebody that's nearby or maybe a pet? I'm only going to read half of the book today, and I have some questions along the way as we think about some important ideas. Let me tell you a little bit about this book. This story is about Kenyon and his grandmother, and it's his grandmother's birthday, and so he's thinking and deciding what he should get her. All right, here we go. His grandmother's heavy snoring told Kenyon that she'd finished her storytelling. He liked to listen with his eyes closed, so he hadn't realized she was through until the snore. He loved her stories, as familiar to him as if they had been his own. But he knew that she got tired quickly since her stroke, so he rose quietly and eased to the kitchen to glance at the clock. "Nearly 4 o'clock," he whispered. He could just make it to the ball field if he left now. His tired old glove lay in his room beside the reminder that he'd printed in big, bold letters. 90 in 2 Saturdays. He didn't want to forget a present for his grandmother's 90th birthday. Kenyon pounded his cracked glove with his right hand. He didn't have to worry about that yet. He tiptoed to the front door. "Where do you think you're going, boy?" Kenyon's quiet, easy glide to freedom was frozen by his grandmother's words. "To play baseball," he mumbled. "Did you finish your homework?" she demanded. "Mostly, little Dolly." From the corner of his eye, he saw the white hair snap around. Kenyon let the door fall shut and turned as his grandmother lit into him. "Mostly? Mostly's not good enough, child. There's some things can't be done mostly. Can't mostly be dead. You either dead or you're not. Can't be mostly crazy. You either crazy or you're not. And I'll finish," he interrupted. Man, she did take a lot of words to say no. Little Dolly's voice kept on muttering with her list of non-mostlies, but Kenyon opened his history books and shut out her talking. Since his mother died 6 years ago, he and his dad had lived with little Dolly. He still didn't know why she was called Little Dolly. There wasn't much little about her. She was a big-boned woman with great big hands and a great big voice and a great lot of words. So let's just pause. Normally we would, tell a partner what's happening in this story, but now you're going to have to tell somebody at your house or an animal or a stuffed animal what's happening so far. Go ahead and pause me because I'm going to continue reading. Kenyon tried his best to study his history, but he couldn't concentrate on all of those long ago dates and names. His mind was filled up with more important things. Things like Mo Davis's fastball and whether he could hit it today like he did yesterday, clean out of the park. Mo thought he was some kind of a pitcher with his real leather glove, but Kenyon didn't mind on days like yesterday, days when Kenyon felt like a hitting machine that could not be denied. That had been a true wallop bat day. By the time Kenyon reached the park diamond, he had to take leftovers on team and position. "It's about time," Mo taunted. "Did you have to help Granny into the sun?" Kenyon's knuckles burned as he clenched his fists tightly. He didn't like to hear little Dolly spoken of poorly. So much for another wallop that day, he thought. That evening, Kenyon sat on the peeling floor of the porch while little Dolly rested on the swing. "Tell me a story, little Dolly," he begged. "You tell instead," she answered. "Tell about the stories you read in your history books." "Ah, those are boring." Kenyon pushed the swing gently. "The only good stories I can tell are about baseball, and you don't care about that." "Well, that's true enough, I suppose," little Dolly agreed. "But a good storyteller can make you care, with how she weaves the tale. Of course, I ain't needin' to tell that. Them words are for the next keeper." "Keeper?" Kenyon asked. "Yes, keeper of stories and legends. My grandma said there had been keepers back in Africa for each tribe, but I can't say about that. Can say we've had keepers in our family since always. My great-grandma, Daisy, my grandma, Dormeen, and me. The keeper holds on to the past until she can pass it on to the next." Well, little Dolly squinched her dark brown eyes. "Don't know who I'll hand my tales to, though." Her large fingers plucked at the sleeve of her blouse. Kenyon stopped the swing, and he knelt beside her. "Well, little Dolly, I'll be the keeper. I love your stories." Her eyes looked deep into his, searching. "Oh, Lord, honey, that's nice, but you a boy. I gotta find me a girl keeper. You can't be a keeper if you're a boy." Oh boy, okay, so let's pause there and let's just think. I have a few questions. What have you learned about keepers so far? What have you learned about keepers? You should probably pause me while you just at least say it to yourself. What seems most important in this story so far? What seems most important in the story so far? Maybe it has something to do with keepers and the stories and not losing important information from your history. What do we know about Kenyon and about little Dolly? Well, little Dolly's a keeper. She's got all the stories, and Kenyon is pretty fond of her stories. Were any of the things that you wondered about explained in the reading today so far? I know we've only read half, so maybe not. And what are you wondering about the story now? Tell somebody what you're wondering. I'm going to read one more page and then we're going to have to pause. The next day, Kenyon picked up an old shoebox and carried it to his bed. He slid the top off and dumped the contents onto the quilt. He'd been saving all of his neighborhood chores money to buy something for little Dolly's 90th birthday. Even if she did drive him crazy about schoolwork, Kenyon thought she was the best. He headed out to see what he could find. Okay, well, we're going to pause there. As you go off and read fiction today, think about important ideas that are in the stories that you're reading and think about what that could mean for your own life. Happy reading. Remember, at least 25 minutes. More is best.